What's up, meatbags? It's the often imitated, never duplicated Tony TGD coming at you with my 5 favorite tag teams. Now, these are not the best tag teams. These are not the most decorated, the most celebrated. They're not the most technical tag teams. They're not even the most popular tag teams of all time. They're just my personal favorites, teams that I grew up on, teams that I enjoyed watching on TV. And before we get to the list, I just want to say there was a team didn't make the list. I was going back and forth whether or not to include them, but ultimately I decided that they were more of a stable rather than a tag team, and so the Fabulous Freebirds did not make the list, unfortunately, though I do really enjoy their work. Now, let's kick off the list with number 5, The Outsiders. These guys, they kicked off the Monday Night Wars for me. When Scott Hall showed up on WCW Monday Nitro, that was a huge moment. I was not a big WCW fan at the time. I was a WWF fan, but I was kind of getting out of wrestling. I was kind of losing interest. But when Scott Hall showed up, that was a huge moment. People thought that we were going to get a WWF WCW crossover, a war, some kind of interaction between the two companies. So there was a lot of excitement. Then, of course, Kevin Nash joins him. We got the Outsiders. They're kicking ass, taking names. And I was a huge fan. Like I said, they got a lot of charisma. They were cool, yet they were bad guys. I was always more drawn to the heels rather than the faces. So I love these guys. Now they would be higher on the list, but unfortunately, like so many others, like some of the guys on the singles list that I had, in their later years, they just really let themselves go. Scott Hall had that drinking problem. You know, he showed up at a lot of events drunk. He showed up wasted. Then they ended up in TNA together. That was just embarrassing. Even the WWE run they had together as part of that NWO, that was embarrassing. So if they would have just stopped, quit while they were ahead, so to speak, they probably would be higher on the list, more well known, more well regarded by me anyway. But because of all their later year antics, all the tag teaming they did in TNA that was just sloppy and bad, these guys are only number 5. Number 4, Hardy Boys. I mean, these guys, they were something to watch in WWF. I mean, I was having a tough time between choosing them and Edge and Christian. I mean, they were so intertwined at that time. You had great matches. They were going back and forth. At one point, they had Michael Hayes as their manager. I really enjoyed that. But then, surprise, surprise, they turned around. They joined the Brood, kicked Michael Hayes out. Edge and Christian ended up switching. They didn't have Gangrel as their manager. So, it was a lot of exciting things. They had great TLC matches, always high flying, quick moves. Personally, I always liked Matt Hardy a little bit better. You know, he had to me, a stronger ground game. He had better techniques. He didn't do all the crazy stunts, but I think that, I did enjoy Matt Hardy's work a lot better personally. But, the team eventually broke up. They went their separate ways. We had Matt Hardy version 1. Jeff Hardy, he did his thing. But again, just like the Outsiders, these guys, a lot of personal issues, a lot of personal problems. They let that affect their work, and they just, they fell off. Personally, for me, they're no longer the same Hardy Boys that they were back in the '90s. So that's why they're not higher on the list. Like I said, if this was 1998, they'd probably be like my number 2 team. But since this is 2021, looking at all their work, they're only making it number 4. Number 3, APA, Acolyte Protection Agency. Formerly just the Acolytes. When The Undertaker had the Ministry of Darkness, I was all in on that. I loved that angle. I love the Acolytes, two big ass kicking dudes just kicking ass, taking names. Very reminiscent of the Road Warriors. These guys, nobody could stand up to them. They would just come in there, utterly destroy every other team. I loved Bradshaw's clothesline from hell. He hit the dude would flip over. That shit was fucking badass. Then later on, after the ministry ended, they stayed together, became the Acolyte Protection Agency. The hired guns, muscle for hire. I love that angle. I love how they were still strong. They kept them strong. They would work for anybody. They started having some comedic angles. They allowed Farouk and Bradshaw to grow their characters. They weren't just these big silent muscle heads anymore. And I really enjoyed it. I think that they had a lot of potential to really dominate the division for a very long time. Unfortunately, Farouk was getting up there in age. They eventually split up. Bradshaw had that run as champion. But I mean, if these two guys would have stayed together, I think they would have been higher on the list because, they really didn't. Like I said, they had a nice run together, but that's not how they ended, and it's probably not how these two gentlemen are going to be remembered. They're probably going to be remembered more for their single runs. Ron Simmons being the first African American WCW heavyweight champion. Bradshaw probably going to be remembered for, trying to rape people inside the showers and shit. Number 2 tag team, my guys, Demolition. I mean, when I was growing up, we didn't have the Road Warriors. We had Demolition. I didn't even know the Road Warriors existed. I was not a NWA fan. I didn't grow up on Jim Crockett Promotions. I didn't grow up on WCW. I grew up on the WWF, and we had these two gentlemen. And frankly, in my opinion, these two guys are so much better than the Road Warriors. Axe and Smash, not only were they two big badasses, but they could actually wrestle. Barry Darsow, Bill Eadie, great wrestlers that, they can get it done in the ring. They could also bring it in a brawl. I mean, in my opinion, they had it all. And you gotta love the outfits they're wearing, the mask. It was very intimidating. When you're a little kid, you're seeing this. This was what wrestling was all about. These two big, evil-looking dudes. With Mr. Fuji as their manager, it was a total package of just badass. I loved it. If it wasn't for the fact that the number 1 team is just one of them is one of my favorite wrestlers, and you probably can already guess who I'm talking about. If it wasn't for that fact, these two gentlemen would probably be my number 1 team because, like I said, they're two badasses. I love the gimmick. It was unfortunate that they didn't get a better run in the WWF. It was very unfortunate that when they brought in the Road Warriors, they decided to just basically push Demolition aside. Eventually Bill Eadie, he was getting up there in age. They added Crush to the group. That kind of watered it down, But like I said, I really did enjoy these two growing up. And number 1 team, of course, it's going to be Los Guerreros. Eddie Guerrero, my favorite wrestler. Chavo, while he's not in the top 10, I do love his work. Together, they had great chemistry. I loved all the lying, the cheating, the stealing. The little skits they did in the WWF was very good. Funny, very charismatic. On the mic, in the ring, the whole faking, hitting someone with the chair, throwing yourself on the ground, throwing the chair on the dude, pretending like he hit you. That shit was funny. I loved it. I enjoyed it. They can get it done in the ring. They had great technical skills. They were very fast. These two were probably the best tag team of the era, in my opinion. When they were tagging together, nobody could beat them, in my opinion. They were the best. I love them. Got to represent for the Latinos. Los Guerreros, my favorite tag team of all time. But really, that's all I gotta say. There's not much you could really say because these guys are that good. I would just be going on and on and on, just rambling because I just love these guys so much. But I'm gonna cut it short here. Let me know what tag teams did you like growing up? What tag teams do you think are the best in your opinion? Who are your favorites? Just let me know in the comments. But you know how we do it on this channel. Love, peace, booty grease. I'm out this bitch.